So I woke up at 6 a.m. on Sunday morning, as I'm sure a fair amount of you did, to watch the Australian Grand Prix. I was really excited for a great race, but instead we were given two red flags that were brought out to make the race more exciting and entertaining, but instead ended up being counterproductive. One red flag meant no one had to make a pit stop again, and the other created complete confusion among fans, teams and drivers. So watching the Australian Grand Prix has made me question what F1's intentions really are. So why is their push for entertainment a dangerous path to go down? And how can it be done properly moving forward? So the race began with a brilliant, exciting start, with Russell taking the lead and Max dropping down to third. Then on lap 7, Alex Albon crashed at turn 7, which brought out the safety car. Race leader George Russell decided to get a cheap early pit stop while Lewis and Max stayed out. And we were in for a great race with opposing strategies for the race win. But then a red flag was brought out for the Albon incident. Now, the way I see it is this is never a red flag. There was quite a lot of gravel on track, but we've got countless examples of the same in the past where we would just stay under the safety car. Instead, the red flag was favoured as it meant we'd get another grid restart, which is entertaining. What they didn't factor in though was this all meant the cars changed tyres and didn't need to stop again, essentially putting everyone on the same strategy until the checkered flag. This was understandably pretty boring, the opposite of what the red flag was actually meant to do. But nonetheless, it was a pretty boring race, with Max cruising to a deserved win with Hamilton and Alonso completing the podium. But then, on lap 54 of 58, Kevin Magnussen hit the wall at the exit of turn 2. His rear right tyre was left in the middle of the track with a few pieces of debris. So understandably, the safety car was brought out. This was all correct protocol, but it meant the race would maybe finish behind the safety car. Of course, the race directors didn't want this and red flagged the race for the second time. Now, based on the confused reaction of the drivers, there was clearly zero need for a red flag on safety terms, and much like earlier, all it needed was a safety car. Nonetheless, we were given a race restart with 3 laps until the checkered flag, which of course is a very entertaining end to the race. But instead, all that happened was complete chaos, with several cars crashing out, causing yet another red flag. But what happened next was a perfect reason why F1 shouldn't play around with the regulations and general protocol in these situations. Instead of having an entertaining finish, we were forced to wait for over 30 minutes for F1 to decide the order of the restart, as there was so much confusion about the crashes and when the red flag was brought out. And once the order was eventually decided, the race had to finish under the safety car anyway. Essentially, it was a classic case of F1 being desperate for a great show, but instead creating a spectacle that was confusing, frustrating and somewhat forced. Formula 1 has detailed regulations in place because it's naturally a complicated sport, and simply these rules are not complementary to the entertainment-based decisions that the race directors keep making. All it does is create confusion, much like what happened in Abu Dhabi 2021. When the race and championship finished in 2021 with the safety car procedure and the one-lap sprint to the finish, the race directors thought they created a blockbuster finish. However, the amount of friends and family that called me asking me to explain what happened shows this wasn't the case. And if anything, all it did was taint an incredible championship fight. But you might be thinking, where did all this come from? Why has F1 become so conscious of entertainment in only the past couple years? Well, it's the new owners of F1, Liberty Media. When they took over the sport in 2017, they had big ambitions to grow the sport, and to be fair to them, they've done an unbelievable job. The sport has grown enormously in fans, money and engagement through greater use of social media, Drive to Survive and the 2022 technical regulations. These regulations were the first ever in the sport's history that prioritised entertaining racing. And the decision making around when to bring out red flags has also changed, with 2021 having a record 7 red flags over the season, and now in 2023, the Australian Grand Prix being the first race ever with 3 red flags. But where does this all end? What is the right way forward for Formula 1? For me, entertainment is extremely important, as it is a spectator sport after all. But prioritise it too much and the sport begins to lose its identity that people love it so much for in the first place. Instead, Formula 1 needs to pursue entertainment, but in a way that's not artificial and against meritocracy. This isn't done by using red flags whenever possibly acceptable, or even by things like DRS. These are just artificial and act as a plaster over a much deeper cut around why Formula 1 should be more entertaining. Instead, they need to change the cars and how the teams approach race strategy. Firstly, the cars need to be better at racing each other, which is what the 2022 regs aim to do, but it's clear more change is needed. And secondly, they need to reduce the importance of tyre management by having more flat-out racing and less tyre-saving phases during Grand Prix. This could be done by reducing practice sessions, basically meaning teams are less prepared, or by changing the actual tyres so teams actually don't need to manage them as much. Essentially, we all want entertaining racing, but it should be natural and genuine, which demonstrates risk and rewards people for taking those risks and performing well, rather than just chucking in red flags and ruining the races of drivers who don't deserve it. But this is my opinion. I know full well many people disagree with me, but I'd love to know what you guys think, so let me know in the comments section down below.